Get ready to pull off the cleanest double reveal they've ever seen without even trying. This self-working trick can be performed with any shuffled deck, and with no setup required, it's an absolute breeze to perform. So grab some cards, hit subscribe for more confidence building tutorials, and let's reveal the impossible. Okay, so as ever, let's just kickstart by taking a look at the effect itself, a remarkable double discovery. And we're going to start with a shuffled deck. So just hand the cards to a spectator. They can shuffle those as much as they like. The cards really are mixed. Now we want to make a couple of totally random selections from the deck. So to start, you're going to ask the first spectator just to cut a random number of cards from the top of the deck. Not too many, a small packet, say between 1 and 10 cards, but it's a totally free choice. And before they do this, you're going to turn away so that you can't see anything. So let's say the spectator cuts some cards just about here. You're now going to ask the spectator to silently count the number of cards they've just cut from the deck. So in this instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. You're going to ask them to remember that number and then to place this pack out of sight and hidden, so there's absolutely no way that you can see them. Now, to make a selection, you're going to ask the spectator to take the deck and to remember the card at the position from the top of the deck corresponding to the number of cards they've just cut. So in this instance, the 7th card. So the spectator will just take the deck and count down to the 7th card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And once they get to this card, they'll just take a look at it and remember it as their selected card. So here we can see the 7 of diamonds. And once they've done that, ask them just to place this packet back on top of the deck. At this point, you can now turn back around towards the cards. So that's one selection made. We're now going to ask a second spectator to make another totally random selection, where we want them to select a totally different card from the first spectator. So you're just going to take the deck here and remove a few cards. So let's see, just a few cards, which will just ensure that the second spectator selects a totally different card. Now, to mix things up as much as possible, ask the second spectator just to take the remainder of the deck here and to give these cards a shuffle. They can shuffle them up as much as they like. And once they're happy they really are mixed, you're now going to ask the spectator just to cut this pack anywhere that they like. It's a totally free choice. Let's say they cut the cards just about here. You're now going to ask the spectator to take a look at the face card where they cut the pack and to remember this as their selected card, not to show you, but just to keep it to themselves. And here we can see the King of Clubs. Once they've taken a look at that, ask them just to place their cards on top of the pack over here to mix things up as much as possible. And to ensure that things really are as random as they can possibly be, ask the spectator now just to take the remainder of the cards over here and to give these a shuffle, again shuffling them as much as they like, and then placing these back on top of the deck. At this point, you can just emphasize with both spectators that they have made totally random selections. They've both selected cards at totally random positions. There's absolutely no way that you could know the selected cards or where those cards now are. However, you're now going to try to find those cards and without even looking at the cards. And to start with, you're just going to ask the first spectator to think of the number of their card, the value of their card. And as they think of that, you're just going to try to tune into their card by dealing cards to the table. So just like so, let's see. Just seeing what you can pick up here. Okay, and once you've started to pick up on the value, you can now just ask the spectator to think of the color of their card as you tune in a bit more. So let's see. Explain that you think you're getting closer. And you can now ask the spectator to think of the suit of their card as you really now try to tune in on the final details. So let's see here. Okay, we're getting much closer now. Explaining that you think we're almost there. Just ask them to really clearly picture the card. Okay, I'm sensing something on this card just here, and you can place this card to the side. reminding the first spectator that they could have selected a card at any position from the shuffled deck for the very first time. You can now ask them to name their selected card. Of course, in this instance, it was the 7 of diamonds. And now you can reveal this card right here is indeed the 7 of diamonds. So that's 1 down, 1 to go. Explaining for the second card, we're going to try to pinpoint it exactly. You can now ask the first spectator to bring out the secret number of cards that they cut from the deck earlier on. Ask them just to count these cards aloud so that everyone can see how many cards there are. So in this instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. You're now going to take the rest of the deck over here and count down to that number. So in this instance, to the 7th card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Placing the final card to the side. Reminding the second spectator that they selected their card by freely cutting the deck. It was a totally random choice. They could have cut the deck anywhere. For the very first time, you can now ask the second spectator to name their selected card. Of course, in this instance, it was the King of Clubs. And now you can reveal that this card right here somehow just happens to be the King of Clubs. Okay, so let's take a look at the secret to this effect. Now, you really do start with a shuffled deck. The spectator can shuffle the cards as much as they like. It all adds to the impact. Ask the first spectator to cut a small pack of cards from the top of the deck. This needs to be between 1 and 10 cards, but it really is a free choice. So let's say they cut the cards just here. Ask them now to silently count the number of cards they've just cut. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then to place these cards out of sight. You're now going to ask the first spectator to look at the card at the position from the top of the deck corresponding to the number of cards they've just cut. So in this instance, they'll look at the 8th card. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ask the spectator to remember this card. Here we can see the Ace of Diamonds, and then to place this pack back on top of the deck. Now we want the second spectator to select a card, and before they do this, you're going to remove some cards from the top of the deck to make sure they select a different card. However, here you're secretly going to count exactly 16 cards. So 1, 2, 3, 14, 15, 16. Place these 16 cards to the side and the rest of the deck on the table. Ask the second spectator to take the pack here and just give these a shuffle. They can shuffle them as much as they like. Ask them then to cut a portion of cards from this pack, and again, it's a totally free choice. Without showing you, ask them to take a look at the face card of the cut portion and to remember this card. So here we can see the 2 of spades. And then to take this pack of cards and place it on top of the 16 cards. Ask the second spectator then to take the remaining cards here. Again, they can give these a shuffle, and then once they're happy they're mixed, to place these on top of the deck. You can then take the cards, and at this point, if you like, you can give the cards a quick full shuffle or a false cut of your choice, just to make it look as though they really are mixed. Now, in order to locate the first spectator's card, you're secretly just going to count down to the 36th card as they think of their card. 1, 2, 3, 34, 35, 36. Placing the final card on the table, and you can place the rest of the cards to the side. And you can now reveal this card to be the first spectator's selected card. Of course, in this instance, the Ace of Diamonds. To find the second spectator's card, you're now going to ask the first spectator to bring out the small packet of cards that they cut from the deck earlier on. Ask them to announce how many cards are in this packet. If you like, you can ask them to count the cards aloud to the table. Of course, in this instance, there were 8 cards. You can now take the rest of the deck and count down to that number. So to the 8th card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Placing the final card to the side. And all that's left to do now is to reveal that this card just happens to be the second spectator's selected card. In this instance, the 2 of spades. And there you have it. Remember, the confidence you build here fuels success in every part of life. So keep growing, keep believing, and keep moving forward. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep the magic alive.